Welcome back to the loading zone. Today's deep thought: trucks have big wheels.
Lease purchase is one of the most talked about things in trucking right now. Some swear by it, others warn against it. That is what we're going to find out today. And there's no better person to talk to this subject than the CEO and founder of Hurricane Express. So today we're going to walk through it step by step in an effort to inform you so you can make your own opinion. And we're going to do this with the help of Caden Steinert of Hurricane Express. So if you're serious about protecting your money and running smarter in this industry, then like, subscribe, and follow right here on FreightWaves for your top freightcast, your top content, and all your trucking news. But before we dive into all of that, we're going to go into some news. Off X Fresh. See, that's not just an engine. That's a screamin' Jimmy, a.k.a. the 1980 Detroit Diesel 8V71, earning its keeps. No babysitters, no computers, just raw power. Loud? Yes, but it's reliable. That's not just nostalgia, folks. That's what trucking used to sound like. That's muscle. That's grit. And yes, that's gears. And not those automatic ones. Up next, well, talk about taking a dump. So what's unique about this one is there's a moral to this story. Pay your drivers, or don't be surprised when the job gets finished in your driveway. This driver had an invoice that was due. The property owner didn't pay it, so they decided to dump the trash in their driveway. I guess that's today's trucking version of returning to sender. Now that we're getting through the important stuff, we're seeing what's happening on X out there in the world, we're going to get to today's topic. Today's topic, we're talking about lease purchase. Some of the experiences swear by it. It's the American dream, and some people warn against it. We want to get to the bottom of this. We want to get to the nuts and bolts. So I want to bring on Caden Steinert, the founder and CEO and president of Hurricane Express. Caden, how you doing today?
Doing really well.
So I want to hop right into this. Tell me, who is Hurricane Express and what makes you different from everyone else out there?
Well, I believe what makes us different is I grew up in trucking, like a lot of owners. Spent all of my childhood in a truck, and because of that, I see everything from a driver's perspective, and I wanted to make a company that gave the driver what, in my opinion, they were looking for, which is the best equipment and the ability to control the amount of miles they run each week.
So when you started with this idea for a company, what did you start with? Was it company drivers? Was it owner operators? Was it lease purchase? Was it you with a couple trucks? Like, what did that look like?
So I started with lease purchase, very first truck, back in 1990, was lease purchase. And it's pretty similar to what we're doing today. At that time, I did not have my own authority, so I was leased on to a company that provided the loads and the trailer. I provided the truck, and we started immediately with lease purchase.
So when did you decide lease purchase was going to be the model that you ran with to help other people explore that same experience?
And I'll make this as brief as possible, but my father's first truck that he got back in 1976 was a lease purchase and very inexpensive truck, $5,000 truck. He paid it off in about a year. Um, then he went to a different company and traded it in on another lease purchase truck, paid that truck off in about 2 years. Again, older truck, a lot of miles on it. And then he traded that truck in for a new lease purchase truck. After 4 years, he paid that truck off. And then in 1985, he got his first truck that he purchased on his own. And that's the reason for the lease purchase model is it worked very well for my father, and it gave him a way to purchase equipment that he otherwise wouldn't have been able to do.
All right, so you found this recipe through your father's experience. What did you define success to look like for your drivers when you built this program?
The first thing I want to give them is the ability to make more money than a company driver. But but what I have found is a lot of drivers are more concerned with the equipment they have, which is why we still do the extended hoods. So um, it really depends on the driver. Some drivers, they want a specific truck. Some drivers want as much money as they can make. And so I believe we do a very good job of offering both. If they want the most money they can make, lease purchase, run as many miles as you are able to in an aerodynamic truck. If what you want is to drive a hood, own a hood, then you're obviously going to make less money with a reduced fuel economy, but that is important to a lot of drivers, which is why I offer it. And so, to answer your question, success is, in my opinion, driver satisfaction. And that is not the same for every driver. Again, it's typically either money or a specific truck.
All right, so let's talk about that. Part of this deal is the deal that winds up on paper. Your website recently shows a 10,000 gross in 6 weeks or 2,000 net take home minimum. What led you to offer this?
Well, the reason I do the guarantee initially is because I don't expect new drivers to take a risk. I know that a good a a driver in an aero truck at Hurricane, they're going to make between $2,000 and $3,000 a week. There are exceptions. Some drivers make 3,500. That's not the norm, but 2 to 3,000. I know they're going to make that. Um, but they could have been in a at a different company that was structured differently, and so that makes them worried about the unknown. So all I'm doing is just saying, look, for the first 6 weeks, you don't have an unknown here. Um, you know that the least you're going to make is this, and I offer that because I know from experience, most likely once that guarantee is over, they will exceed the guarantee and become part of the family.
Okay, so is that guarantee in the contract that they're signing then for that first 6 weeks?
Absolutely, 100%.
So, what's the average rate per mile on loads that drivers can expect with you guys? Because that's ultimately what's going to determine success. And you guys have built up a brand, so I imagine you've built up partnerships. So there's a level of expectation on both sides.
Currently, it is approximately $2 a mile, but there are a few things that should be pointed out. One, we pay on every dispatched mile. So Obviously, if you paid only on loaded, that would be a higher figure. But uh, because we haul produce, sometimes there's big deadheads. And what I've found it works the best is to pay on every mile. Besides that, it also, all tolls, all unloading, that's all on the company. So um, it's truly, that's what the driver's getting, $2 a mile. Okay. So that is, it's year round. It doesn't sometimes the rates are less and it doesn't look so good on our end, but no matter what we are getting paid, whether we have to subsidize a load or a season, we keep the rates the same so the driver has no surprises.
So right now we're seeing operating cost of a truck around $2 a mile or even exceeding $2 a mile. So I'm just trying to understand how that math lines up to find success as an owner operator or lease operator in this market.
Absolutely. So some of the stuff that we do that sets us apart is there's no trailer fee or trailer maintenance. So that the trailer part of the overhead is completely taken out of the equation. Um, the On our aero trucks, our fuel cost per mile is around 70 cents a mile. Okay. So that gives you $1.30 to operate on. Um, we do have 10 cents a mile that covers all of the preventative and normal maintenance. So oil changes, brakes, tires, lights, anything that would break on the truck, that is taken care of by 10 cents a mile. So that takes a huge unknown out. So now you're at about $1.20 a mile. Okay. And so um, a good rule of thumb for our model is the first 2,000 miles in a week, the driver is going to net about $1,000. But once they get there, the rest of that $1.20 a mile is theirs. So they're about $1.20 a mile for any miles over that, which comes out to that $2,000 to $3,000 range net every week, depending on their miles.
So after that 6 weeks, let's look beyond that 6 weeks.
Sure,
How
yeah.
often is a driver ending up with under $2,000 net?
That is a very fair question. Um, some drivers never get under that number because they are very focused on income. Okay. But drivers, they are human, and every driver has a different things that are important. I often try to get drivers to make more money by running more efficiently. And a common response is, look, I don't need any more money. I'm happy where I'm at. And so I can't tell you a percentage of drivers that fall under that. But what I can say is the drivers that fall under that, most of the time, it's because they choose um, to make a little bit less money because either they would rather run less miles or they would rather operate at a higher speed for their own personal reasons, which is fine. And most of them understand that. And so the money is not really nature of the model. It is more the nature of what the driver wants. Any driver that wants the money, it's there for them. And so um, usually that's not an issue if they're making good money or not.
Okay. So when we're looking at all of this and how it racks up, let's address the elephant in the room. There are people
Sure.
out there that have different experiences. You see all these different settlements from drivers all over, but we're talking about hurricane where they might not equal up to 2,000 or greater. What do you have to say that differentiates them from the ones that are having a good experience?
So what I see a lot of time, um, when drivers send in settlements and are unhappy with them, often what will happen is they will have just come off of home time. And I make it very clear, whatever a driver wants to, whatever they need is home time. That's their choice. We if they need a day, if they need a week, if they need 2 weeks. But what you'll sometimes see is you'll have a partial week settlement because that's all there is to pay them on. And I can't tell you that every settlement that they don't like is that way, but the majority of settlements that there's driver dissatisfaction, it's because it's a settlement that is not a full week simply because we're paying them for everything they've done, but because part of that is at home, we can only pay them for what they've worked.
I get that. So one of the questions, and when you and I were going into this, I told you I wanted to ask some of the user and viewer questions. One of the questions that I
Sure,
saw recently asked was, do drivers get a rate con for all the loads they're pulling? Before we answer that, I want to put up a clip that you guys had up on your social media first.
sure.
Does Hurricane Express pay its drivers? What is it based on? Is it percentage? Is it per mile? What is it? We pay our drivers on a per mile basis that is derived from the DOE, Department of Energy, average cost of fuel. So essentially, we use a fuel surcharge matrix to determine the weekly reefer dry empty rate. That's it.
So I saw in the comments people were asking, do the drivers get the rate con? And where Caden Jr. has answered how the pay structure is, the one thing that went unanswered was, do the drivers have access to a rate con? So I figured this is a great platform to answer that question.
Absolutely. So they do not, because they are simply paid by the mile. And the reason I did that is because 25 years ago, I paid drivers percentage base, 75%, which is pretty standard for refrigerated when you're supplying only the tractor, but not the authority, not the trailer, not the insurance. So the problem I found is because what we haul is cyclical produce, um, drivers simply could not make it through the winter months because the rates were not enough to sustain. And so it took a long time. But what I did is I took a year together, averaged it, backed it into 75%, and um, that is what we are paying them on now. And it has, for 25 years, it has worked much better than the cyclical nature of paying by percentage. Now, if what you haul is the same every month, percentage is a wonderful model. But there is such a huge fluctuation in produce rates that I have not been able to make it work, and it did not make drivers happy at all with a percentage based, which is why, again, about 25 years ago, I abandoned that model.
So it sounds like everything for you comes back to driver satisfaction.
That is absolutely correct.
So part of why you embarked on this was the freedom, but the freedom is defined in the fine print. So let's talk a little bit about that. When a truck is down for an
Yes.
extended repair, how does the driver keep up with the payments that don't stop?
So part of something that I cover up front orientation covers, it's company policy is anytime you have any sort of repair that is going to be more than, say, 2 days, we offer a comparable or better loaner truck um, at no additional fee. So um, there's no reason for their income stream to ever be interrupted.
Okay, so they get a loaner truck so they can keep on operating while those repairs are taking place. So when drivers are saying that they're paying into a maintenance fund, I believe you referred to it as 10 cents a mile earlier in the conversation. But
Yes.
when those repairs happen, some of them are saying it still comes out of their settlement. Help me understand that.
So from all the research I've done, it's about 25 to 30 cents a mile for maintenance on a Class 8 truck. What the agreement we make with the drivers is for 10 cents a mile, which is obviously less than half of the national average, we take care of every aspect of maintenance at our terminal here in Oklahoma or our terminal in Ohio. So for under 50 cents, the 50% of national average, we take care of all of maintenance at those two locations. Any major repairs, we bring the truck back here at no cost to the driver and repair it at no cost to the driver. The I can only guess on the repairs they're talking about is sometimes on the road. Um, Drivers can make a mistake. It happens. You know, we a lot of drivers forget to disconnect their 7-way, and we probably go through those a couple a day, and um, we can't really be responsible when a driver forgets to disconnect the lines on his trailer, and then we have to send a service truck out there to fix them.
Isn't that what their 10 cents a mile is being paid into, though? Those mistakes that could be made?
So it and that's a very fair question. It's not an account, and um, I try to make it very clear to the drivers. Um, it's in all the paperwork. It's just the way I look at it is it's a service contract. If you buy a new car and you say, "Hey, I never want to have to think about anything on this. How much does it take for 100,000 miles and I never have to worry about anything?" So that's what it is to them. It is a prepaid service contract, and the agreement is at any of our locations, we will take care of the truck for as long as you're at Hurricane.
All right. So we've seen cases where drivers are paying hundreds weekly into these escrows. I just want to understand so everyone watching right now can understand where that money's going. Say I have a repair, and it's from what I'm understanding in this conversation, I have a repair. It's not my fault. It's not an accident. It's covered in that maintenance account, that 10 cents a mile, or that if it is an accident on my fault, then it wouldn't be covered in that. Am I understanding that correctly?
That is true, but an accident would be covered under the insurance. So obviously, um,
Well,
they
let
make
me
a
rephrase
mistake.
that then. Not accident
Okay,
isn't like I
sure.
hit someone, but like I curb my tire and the tire pops and the rim gets damaged, or I pull away my 7-way or my airlines break.
That that is on the driver because that's not the normal scope of maintenance.
Okay.
But again, I just want to clarify if there's any sort of major repair on the road, that is covered. Whether it's covered because most most of the trucks are under warranty, so it's covered under warranty. Or if it's not covered under warranty, we simply bring the truck back to the shop at no charge to the driver, bring them a loaner truck at no charge, and repair the truck at our shop at no charge. So the items that drivers could be referring to are usually just a driver oversight, like a tire being curbed, like a seven-way, or some drivers simply don't bring their trucks in to ever have them looked at. And if I can't look at a truck, it's hard for me to fix it. And so sometimes they just choose not to come in, and they will drive a wearable item until it has to be repaired on the road, which, yes, they do pay for it if they refuse to bring the truck in.
So let's talk about then who's really holding the keys. With all these fixed costs, you got the payments, you got the maintenance, you got the insurance, you got the permits, you got the terms, the conditions. Do drivers get actual time to review the contract and maybe even have outside counsel review it when they're going through these orientations? Because that's a lot of paperwork for one person to comprehend in a short period of time, especially after you figure how long's orientation, a couple days?
It's a 2-day orientation, yes.
2 days of information, and then I get this paperwork I got to sign. I'd probably want to have a legal expert and an accountant review it. Do they get that opportunity, or is it sign here or leave this opportunity?
No, I will often have a driver or drivers that need an extra day before they get in the truck. There's never any pressure put on them. If they want to leave out at the end of the second day, then they do. If they need a day or more to get comfortable, they often do that. It is in my opinion, it's a very low pressure orientation.
So, drivers are investing a lot of time and earned income into this. Let's talk a little bit about the insurance. Who is listed on the payout of the physical damage insurance policy? Is it just hurricane? Is it hurricane and the driver? Does the driver at any point get listed onto that? Because if I'm a driver and I've paid 2 out of the 3 years or 3 out of the 4 years, I'd expect to see my name on there. Otherwise, I'm at a disadvantage. Hurricane has all the cards in their favor to negotiate whatever's best in their interest, but my interests aren't being covered.
The insurance is not in their name, and the reason that is because it would simply be too expensive. And what I mean by that is, um, my son Caden, um, he recently bought a truck and did the best he could to get um, the lowest cost insurance he could find. And what he found was a 5% of stated value policy. So that was $10,000 a year. And what we charge is $5,000 a year. So that's half of the best that we could find for him as a one truck policy. And what we do with the insurance is, if a driver has an accident, we simply repair the truck at no charge and put him in a loaner at no charge. So because it is in our best interest to keep the truck moving, we fix the truck as quickly as possible, put it back on the road, and while the driver is waiting for the truck, he is able to continue to make money in a loaner if that's what he chooses. Now, because we have a 10-person body shop, a lot of times a driver can come in where they have hit a deer or have had a tire come apart and have the entire fender missing in a 10-hour shift. We'll get that truck completely repaired, no issue, no loaner truck, and right back on the road. So we take the repairs very seriously, And I don't know that I've ever had a complaint about how a truck was fixed, the speed it was fixed, because again, it's in our interest to get the truck back on the road as soon as possible.
So on your website, you guys advertise it's a walk-away lease. There's a difference between walk away and walk away cleanly. If a driver can't make money in the program, what's the process to get out?
They, they just come back, turn the truck in. We give them, we give them a good reference, and that's that. There's nothing there's nothing holding them in financially or otherwise if it doesn't work out for them. Nothing is held over their head. Um, it I believe it could not be a cleaner, more fair situation for the driver.
So for all those allegations out there saying that when drivers try to walk away, they're being hit with charges, why would you suspect that that's happening or they're feeling in such a way?
And that is actually a very easy question to ask. And again, it goes back to I try to put myself in the driver's shoes and give them the very best experience with the least amount of stress over finances. So typically, when a driver comes in, I will advance them. This is a range, it's not exact, but for the most part, I will advance them $4,000. And what that allows them to do is have two normal settlements immediately. And so um, that's an advance. We tell them up front that it's an advance. And so the dissatisfaction from drivers that don't stay here very long is they come here, I advance them $4,000. Maybe they only stay here a couple weeks, and so I've already advanced them 4,000. They've already taken out a $4,000 loan, and then when we settle up, obviously, if I've loaned somebody money, I I have to do the best to get it back. Now, that's on the negative side. On the positive side, um, I take that money back at $100 a week. So um, I do everything I can so that if they want to choose to come here, they just have a consistent stream of money as soon as they start. But again, to answer your question, the issue is I advance them $4,000, and then if they're here for a short time, under 40 weeks, they haven't paid it back, and so it has to be paid back.
So you advance them money, and when they're separating, you're
Absolutely.
getting that money back. What's to be said about the 10 cents going into the maintenance that might not be used? Maybe they have a perfect truck, nothing goes wrong. Do they get that money back?
No, because at 10 cents a mile, what that covers is tires, brakes, and your normal preventative maintenance. And so, although maybe I gave them a new truck, they drove the truck for 50,000 miles, it will not need tires, but all 10 tires are still going to have 50,000 miles less of life, just like the brakes. And, at that time, it will have required two services. And so, again, the national average is 25 to 30 cents a mile. The fee we charge is 10 cents. And so I feel like it's obviously not a profit center for us. In fact, we pay much more than we collect. So um, I don't know of a more fair way to do it for the driver.
So I'm gonna talk about the pressure because trucking is full of pressure. I'm gonna say the part that drivers are saying quietly out loud because I think that's how we get to the root of the problem through communication. They're
Sure.
paying everything. They're paying maintenance. They're paying repairs. They're paying deductibles. They're not building real equity. And when it all falls apart, they walk away and lose everything. But that truck moves on to the next driver. So tell me why what they're feeling is wrong. Help me understand it from your viewpoint, so maybe they can find a way to understand it.
Well, now I'm just going to go back to where you say it all falls apart. Personally, I review every single statement for every driver. And so um, I take exception on the all fall apart. And what I mean by that is if a driver is functioning like just a normal, let's call it a company driver. He's driving 8-9 hours a day. Just there's no way for anything to fall apart. So when you say fall apart, what I would say might be referring to is sometimes drivers they just stop working, and whether it would be a company position or a truly an owner operator where you've gotten a bank loan for your truck or a lease purchase, if you don't work for 2 or 3 weeks because you're at home, whatever the circumstance is, it's going to be it's going to be a financial problem. Now, we don't hold any of that over your head. If you want to go home for 2 or 3 weeks and you want to come back out and start making money, that's fine. But there's really not a situation where everything falls apart, because the maintenance is a safety net. So you're never going to have a big repair because you pay it up front. And
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, you can continue.
And so, yes, there are obviously fees associated with a truck. And, some of those fees, we brought up the insurance. That's pretty straightforward. It's a $200,000 piece of equipment. We figure it at half of what it would cost somebody to do it. So that's the insurance aspect. On the tags, I do it the fairest way I know how is I simply take the cost of the tag and divide it by 365. And so we're charging about $1,840 a year, but we charge it by the day. So the driver never pays more than he uses. That's a pass-through expense. There's no upcharge, there's nothing. Same way with the 2290. That's $550 a year. That's, a little bit over $1 a day. That's not a huge charge. And so I acknowledge there are charges, but they're either pass through or I'm charging less than they cost me, or significantly less than a driver could get the same thing for themselves. And so I believe it's impossible for things just to fall apart unless a driver just decides he's not going to work anymore. And again, if you were a company driver and you didn't work for 3 weeks, you wouldn't have any money. So in that aspect, I don't see a big difference.
All right. So my next question is a simple yes or no. If lease purchase was to disappear today, would Hurricane Express still be profitable?
Absolutely. We only have about 15% lease purchase. And that's simply by we offer it, and that's what people want to participate. And
Okay.
so and it's not a hard sell. I just want people to be happy. Whatever they want to do is good with me.
I got you. We're going to go to a message from our sponsors over at 10th Street.
Do you want to grow your fleet but get buried by paperwork, slow hiring processes, and outdated systems, all while struggling to comply with changing safety regulations? Enter 10th Street, the all-in-one platform that simplifies driver lifecycle management by bringing marketing, recruiting, onboarding, safety, and retention together in one place. Sign up for a demo today.
All right, we're back on Break Check. Part of Break Check's allure is that we're having those hard conversations. So I want to appreciate Caden for taking the time to come on here. One of the things I told Caden that we do here is we ask those hard questions at the end. So he was willing to participate in this. We're going to go into our hard stop, but we got a special segment for this. I can't pretend to know everything in trucking, nor will I, but I'm bringing on a guest that knows a little bit more about this. We got Louis Pugh with OIDA. Louis, joining us for this interview, we got Caden. What's some of the hard questions that come to mind when we're trying to get to the bottom of a lease purchase? You there, Louis? All right. While we figure out if Louis can hear us. He can hear us. Louis, do you have any questions?
I can hear you.
All right. We can hear you too. What's some of the hard questions that you have regarding lease purchase?
Well, I guess my first question, and probably hard question, is how many of these people actually complete these leases? Like, what's your percentage of completion?
That is a very good question. And what I would answer is everyone that wants to complete the lease, we do everything possible to make sure they do. So, like I stated before, we're only about 15% lease purchase. And what often happens is they get to about 4 years when a truck has 500,000 miles on it. And yes, they are in a lease purchase, but they just say, look, I know I'm in a lease purchase. I just want to roll this equity into a new truck. And so, as I've stated many times on this, it's my job to do everything I can to keep drivers happy.
Now, I want to ask a follow-up on that because that percentage you gave, is that lease purchase and rental, or is that just lease purchase?
The 15% is simply the lease purchase.
So how much of your fleet is lease purchase and rental?
So I would say rental takes up, I would say about 60%, which seems to be the most popular. I actually didn't think anybody would want that. I started that about 15 years ago, and I actually didn't think anybody would want to do that. But the reason I offered it is I noticed drivers wanted more home time, which is absolutely understandable. So I had to figure out a way to have more home time without affecting their income. And so with the 40-month lease, which is not a lease to own, they have a lower payment. They always have a truck that's fully under warranty. And at the end of 40 months, they get a $5,000 lease completion bonus. And again, that is about 60% of our business. And
so combined, you're looking at roughly about 75 combined. 75%
that's correct,
of the fleet, yes, between rental and lease purchase.
Correct.
Real quick, because we're running out of time, how many people actually complete these successfully? If you could assign a percentage based on a guesstimate from your experience.
Well, so what I can say is just looking at the numbers in the last 3 years, we have had about 100 people complete in the last 3 years. And so I find that to be highly successful because they're getting exactly what they signed up for. And almost all of the drivers that complete the 40-month lease just immediately get into another brand new truck because they really enjoy it here and they've gotten exactly what they wanted.
All right. Well, I appreciate you, gentlemen. We're running out of time, but no one's looking to knock the American dream over here. Every driver out there wants a shot at ownership. And if they want it, they should have the opportunity to go get it. I personally believe that you should have some skin in the game, but some people out there don't want to put skin in the game. And that's why we have to explore these other paths. So I appreciate Caden coming on. I appreciate Louis from OIDA coming on to ask a hard question, but now we need a feel-good moment, so I'm going to leave you with this as we go into the weekend. Thank you for tuning in to Brake Check.
Sitting in the morning sun, I'll be sitting when the evening comes, watching other trucks roll in. Then I watch them roll away again. I've been backed up to this dock all day, just watching the other trucks roll away. I've been sitting at the dock all day, just wasting time.